Instead of testing the protection functions one by one in separated test modules, the OMICRON Control Center manages the execution and automation of multiple test modules as an overall test document. By opening the following Control Center file, we can have an overview of the main features. Note that .occ has been set as the file format extension. The navigation bar on the left-hand side shows the structure of the test. It always starts with the test object that describes the relay under test and the hardware configuration that contains the wiring information. These are global blocks that serve as data containers for the following test modules. The modules in this particular test document have been grouped in folders. Clicking at any entry in the navigation bar allows you to rename it. To start the complete test plan from the beginning, click on the Start Continue All button in the Home tab. Each individual test module can also be played by selecting it and clicking on the Play button located in the same tab. When selected from the View tab, the report view with the test results is shown on the right-hand side of the window. This report will contain all the individual test reports of the modules embedded in the OCC file. Now that we know the basics, we will give a brief introduction on how you can build your own test template from scratch. From now on, we will be using this OCC file for the following video tutorials. First, open a new test document from the Control Center section in the Test Universe Start page. The initial global test object and hardware configuration will be automatically inserted, ready to be configured. The global test object will apply for all subsequent modules and is accessible from each individual test module. We will import an already made test object block which contains the same settings as in the Quick CMC video tutorial. Please refer to it for more details. A good understanding of the difference between the global and local hardware configurations is very important for testing with Test Universe. You may think of the global hardware configuration as the group of variables that you will need for all test modules: voltages, currents, trip contacts, etc. The list of tools or variables will be accessible on each individual test module. Then, from the list, the inputs and outputs that you will be using need to be specified in the local hardware configuration of each module. For instance, in this set of video tutorials, we will test the overcurrent and distance protection functions. Therefore, the currents, voltages, start and trip signals will be required. No binary outputs or any additional inputs are needed. This is what we have to enter in the corresponding tabs of the global hardware configuration. Although it is not a restriction, the majority of test documents contain only one test object and one hardware configuration, which parameters and settings apply globally to all test modules embedded in the test document. However, an additional global hardware configuration can be used when new wiring needs to be done for testing. That said, we can proceed to insert our first test module. This will be a quick CMC module just to perform a wiring check. First, open up the module and get access to the local hardware configuration. Just enable the 3 voltages and 3 currents and set the values in the module's test view. It is advisable to use different and recognizable values for each phase. For example, 10 volts, 20 volts, 30 volts for the voltages, and 1 amp, 2 amps, and 3 amps for the currents. Check that the injected values of voltage and current match the measured values shown in the display of your relay. If so, the wiring has been done correctly. Now we can insert a pause module. This module only starts from the OMICRON control center. It stops the OCC test procedure to display instructions or any other user-defined information. For example, the tester can be warned to activate or deactivate a specific protection function. The procedure stops until the user clicks on Continue. For comprehensive test files, it is advisable to organize the modules in logical groups according to the protection functions you are testing. For instance, we can create a folder called Emergency Overcurrent. Inside this folder, we will place all test modules related to the overcurrent protection function. The OMICRON Control Center also works as a word processor, meaning that the report is editable. Additional texts, images, or tables can be added or formatted in the same way as Microsoft Word. For example, we can enter a title for the document, Overcurrent and Distance Protection Test. Use the Text tab to change the font, size, paragraph, indenting, etc. Importing a figure like a company logo is also possible. First, place the cursor in the desired place and choose Object from the Insert tab. Then, select the type of object you want to insert. Use the paintbrush editor when importing an image. Copy and paste the picture in the editor. The picture will be included in the report view as soon as Paint is closed. Then, scale and locate the picture according to your needs. As mentioned, this will be the file to be used in the following videos.